Rasa Tatsavitavarenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Premananda Chakra Namaya. Om Dharmaka Chakra Namaya. Om Bhataka Chakra Namaya. Om Mantaka Chakra Namaya. Om Rasataka Chakra Namaya. Om Takataka Chakra Namaya. Om Sutaka Chakra Namaya. Om Vaitaka Chakra Namaya. Om Ataka Chakra Namaya. Om Muladhara Chakra Namaya. Om Svadhisthana Chakra Namaya. Om Mana Chakra Namaya. Om Surya Chakra Namaya. Om Manipura Chakra Namaya. Om Anahata Chakra Namaya. Om Om Stigmataka Chakra Namaya. Om Nayika Chakra Namaya. Om Yantrika Chakra Namaya. Om Anukula Chakra Namaya. Om Nitaka Chakra Namaya. Om Govinda Chakra Namaya. Om Dhamaka Chakra Namaya. Om Shivaka Chakra Namaya. Om Satyaka Chakra Namaya. Om Vishuddha Chakra Namaya. Om Jaka Chakra Namaya. Om Tulsika Chakra Namaya. Om Agya Chakra Namaya. Om Amrita Amritaka Chakra Namaya. Om Puja Pujarika Chakra Namaya. Om Ra Raja Chakra Namaya. Om Lalata Chakra Namaya. Om Sahasrara Chakra Namaya. Om Satya Artadama Moksha Shakra Bodhi Adiketa Dvaparsa Chakra Namaya. Om Madhava Kamala Rasa Chandra Chakra Namaya. Om Om Shakti Chakrananda Namaya Saka Pranadanaye. There are so many chakras in the body, beneath the body, above the body, and the Shakti chakra halos around the body, that to think that there are only 7, and that it all begins in the root chakra, is a grave misnomer. Grave misnomer. Hi, my name's Satka, and I've been doing this research on the chakras for many, many, many lifetimes, but especially for the past 2 decades. And under the guidance of my beloved Gurudev, Srila Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta, Abhayacharnavinta Nitilila Pravista Om Vishnupad Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, was I given Hari Nam on his behalf by Sri Prem Prayojan Maharaj. And for the first 10 years, I was very close in with Sadhu Sangha, following strictly the orders of Gurudev's teachings as much as my ability led me to do so, chanting rounds of Harinam Japa, 20 lakhs, at least 20 lakhs a day, sometimes 88 without taking a break for 2 days, sometimes 44 in one day, sometimes 64, as Srila Prabhupada, by Eternity Vitalism, who brought Vaishnava Dharma and the Prem Bhakti Dharma to America in the mid-1970s, combing the cream of Gandhi's followers, who were very into renunciation and the self-denial, and turning them into ecstatic Prem Bhaktas, and giving the opportunity to Americans for righteous conversion to the fully awakened Krishna conscious, Christ conscious Bhakta lifestyle. So it's my honor to share with you the blessings of these teachings and to integrate them into Western life, because as we know, in the core of every religion is the heart of pure love of God. So the study of the chakras is not a religious path, though it can become. It's a path of awakenment, enlightenment, and ultimately a path of health and self-realization and God realization. So anyone who's interested in health and having a better life, and having happier, more fulfilling, more interesting and spontaneous relationships with their loved ones and new people that we meet, can honor and respect this path of chakra enlightenment. In the West, there are so many yoga teachers now. Yoga studios are practically like a 7-Eleven in the metropolitan societies in the United States. You can pretty much go to a yoga clinic anytime and get a class and learn a sun salutation and do the downward dog. I call it the dog pound because I went to the dog pound for like 10 years straight. Every day you do mountain, miracle, and swan, followed by elephant. Then you make your lunge, your warrior, your down dog, your plank, cobra, return to downward dog, jump forward, and repeat again on the other side. So this is the basic dog pound sun salutation. After doing that for 10 years, I started to feel like my body was being degraded, was being looked at like a dog or like a welcome mat, or like everything about yoga began at the root chakra, and men that do yoga coming up to me and just, just the roots, and I got tired of it. And I didn't like feeling like a piece of meat, a welcome mat, and it's getting dogged. And I put in some more elbow grease and some more elbow grease, and I went to the full extent of where I could be. Relationships had become nothing but a leela, like, no camera on little, porn leela that was like the dog catcher. It was like you do your downward dog, and then your old man comes and he's the dog catcher. He's gonna, get you in your right place and everything. So we all know how degraded our relationships can be if our exercise regimen and discipline isn't really awake. Because when our exercise and our daily discipline is really awakened, then we have an opportunity to interact with our partner in a fully spontaneous and surprising and comforting and beautiful and loving way that's fulfilling not only for our hearts and for our animal need for comfort and companionship, but also fulfilling for our individual paths of spiritual, physical awakenment, which is what yoga is. Yoga is the yoking of the spirit to the body. So I'm going to talk to you about this chant. I've been doing this chant ever since I came up with the transcendental realization of the fully realized names of the lower chakras and the upper chakras. And I was researching not just book learned knowledge, but also knowledge that's learned from a transcendental plane, which is called aprakrita gyan. It's considered the highest form of knowledge that there is, aprakrita gyan. And so some of these names, like the names of the halos, are what I call aprakrita gyan. And there are many schools now that have names for different kinds of chakra awakenment that have different names for these halos. But I hope that mine will have some staying power because I have done so much intensive work in awakening my upper chakras through acrobatics, through vocal training and vocal self-realization, God realization through vocalizing, especially in nature. And this is where these chakras really wake up, singing on the mountains, singing in the desert, singing out in the canyons and the valleys and the places where the natural acoustics present themselves. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you the names of these chakras and what they mean. The first chakra is the chakra that's down below the earth, and this is a chakra that I learned the name of through aprakrita gyan, purely transcendental knowledge, and that's the Prem chakra. The Prem chakra is down below our body, about as high as we are, into the earth. The next chakra is the Dharmaka chakra. That's about as long as our legs are down into the earth, but not below us. And this is also received from transcendental knowledge of Prakriti Gyan. The Dharma chakra already knows the path of our Dharma, of where we're going. It's as if your feet have already walked all the steps they're going to walk through this entire lifetime, and it's already encoded in your Dharmaka chakra. When we have a disorientation in our Dharmaka chakra, we have suicidal thoughts, or we think we don't know where we're going. When our Dharmaka chakra is awake and clear, then no matter how much beats on us to say, you're not going to make it, you're not going to win, you're not going to go to the finish line, you just continue to shine because it's already written in the stars. Everything that you're going to do in this life, it's already written down. So you can't have damage to your Dharma chakra, or it could change your path. So to honor that Dharma chakra, we do these grounding exercises. It's important to walk barefoot on the earth to keep that Dharma chakra awake. There's lots of exercises to do, meditations, chants, visualizations. It's all in my book that's become a scroll that's called Sakti Ras, which means the dance of the beloved. To me, many people seek to become one with God, but for me to become one with God is not my goal. My goal was to become the Prem Shakti of He Himself, the beloved, so that when I'm in the presence of God, then I'm able to be like the water in the reflection of that. And I can shine that light from within me as I'm doing this Dharma Bhakti, which is doing this work. Here I am, bringing the Holy Land. The name Gurudev gave me is Damayanti, is she who brings the Holy Land, one of the few who's allowed to cook in the Lord's kitchen. And this is doing this work, and then in the presence, being this divine, like water, mirror reflection, Shakti Ras, the dance of the beloved. So then researching from Shivananda, I found that the lower chakras, 7 lower chakras in the lower limbs, are widely respected as well-known chakras. Chakras are like discs or wheels of energy spinning inside the body, contrary to organs and muscles and bones and tissues that can be dissected and changed and given illness and taken away. So chakras can have illness and you can cure it too, but they weren't discovered by the underneath the blade of a scalpel of a doctor is seeking to understand or own or to play God on the human body. The chakras were discovered with yogic self-realization and interaction with other realized saints. These Shakti, we call them Shakti. I call them Shaktis now because when they're awake, they're not chakras, they're Shaktis. Because then they're actually here. They're like, it's like they become, when they become your cup of tea, and you can call it the Shakti. So it's kind of the feminine word for that's also Shakti. It's a feminine word for chakra. Ra is like the God that is the sun, that is all things, that is Jesus, that is then the Father, Krishna, who without the blackness of Krishna, we wouldn't know, we couldn't identify the sun, who is then all radiant aspects, Mother Kuan Yin and Yemaya, and all radiant aspects of the divine being, Hanumanji and Garuda bird, all these aspects of the divine being, and all of the apostles and saints. So Ra is like this, and T, that's like kind of like Amun-Ra in Egypt, when God is within the man or the woman. Then if man is like the woman and God being the divine man, then Shakti, this is like when we are with our cup of tea in our own divine energy, right? Because we haven't altered ourselves with radical chemicals or things that would create, the only real hell really would be a chemical imbalance. So that can be created from outside of ourselves if we allow our chakras to be destroyed, our Shakti to become destroyed by the outside energy through our orifices, through our ears, through our eyes, through our nose, through our mouth, through all of our orifices that could be destroyed from outer input that we have no control over, the traffic, the smog, the fire, the fumes from wildfires, all of these things that contribute to our sensory input. Those all have some role in the health of our chakras. So we all, of course, aspire to that divine place where we're in the Garden of Eden, so to speak, and surrounded by the sounds of beautiful water and the wind in our hair and the gentleness of the sun in our face with the leaves blowing their sweet shade to keep it from being too bright, and the sounds of our beloveds, family and friends around us. All of these things contribute to Shakti and chakra awakenment. So Shivananda, who was very well known for publishing huge books with thousands of names of different gods, thousands of names of Durga, thousands of names of Shiva, thousands of names of Hanuman, thousands of names of Lakshman, of Lakshmi, of Kali, of Krishna, of Vishnu, Brahma. When someone publishes something that has 1,000 names of the Lord, generally it's respected as something that you can trust as truth, because in order to cultivate a desire for devotion to the Lord, which would manifest 1,000 different Sanskrit names, one has to cultivate a purity of devotion, which means if something is awry or suspicious in one's organization, like perhaps there is in some of these modern yogic organizations of sort of secularized commercial yogic awakenment, you can trust this one who's coming forth with 1,000 names of the Lord is not the perpetrator. And so this is why I trust Shiva Nanda in his word when he said that these chakras all have names. The bottom of the feet, the top of the feet, the ankles, the shins, the knees, the inner thigh, and the hip are the 7 lower chakras. You got that? The bottom of the feet, the top of the feet, the ankles, the shins, the knees, the hips. So it's not just the root chakra, the reproductive organs, the chi, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown, which is what everyone thinks. That they think yoga, 7 chakras, got it. Let's get it on because it's right there. Yoga's making it, right? But really, Shivananda has given us this dharma that really, when we wake up in the morning, we can jump up out of bed. Now, his awakening was stinted, perhaps because of the mainstream attention that he got in his bhakti dharma. And so his chakras, though he knew they were there, were filled with bad feelings. He seemed to think that the bottom of the feet, that the lowest chakra and the bottom of the feet was the house of the feeling of evil and murderous thoughts. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe if you're a prima ballerina, your toes are going to hurt a lot. But it's the beauty and the joy that fills a prima ballerina with pure bliss, even somatic bliss. It could even be said that a ballerina is filled with samadhi, which was once considered a state of enlightenment so unobtainable that only gurus who had had 7 or 8 generations of gurus in their genealogical lineage were capable of even catching a glimpse of samadhi. With this new awareness, we can realize that despite secular ornamentation, a prima ballerina in her whole state of pure existence is one who is in such constant contact with the divine that not only is she becoming a snowflake, becoming one with a flower blooming in the garden, she's actually in a state of samadhi. And so we can accept this, that samadhi, samadhic bliss, trance, illumination in this age, this new age of awakenment and consciousness and taking responsibility for the past generations' errors and fumblings and overuse of resources, now refining it, where we can all drive Teslas or walk or run, be pedestrians, where we can clean up the air and do the reforestation. These are the children of the light that are talked about in Revelation, who will survive the Armageddon. So ballet is not the only way to wake up these lower chakras. Runners are waking up these lower chakras. Olympians are waking up these lower chakras. Even children's Shaktis are always constantly awake until we tell them, nope, sit down, watch TV, become socialized, and learn how we're supposed to act. That's how we're supposed to act, to give the ratings that pays them, that pays your boss, that pays the paycheck, that pays the landlords, that forgot to pay the porcelain, and so you have to then pay them the rent so that you can teach them how, or something won't go there. Yeah, right. So Shivananda, he gave me a clue that he had about the lower chakras. And all his lower chakras were what I would say is, from a Olympian ballerina, perspective, let's say his chakras were maybe, because he's sitting in lotus for most of the day giving talk. His upper chakra is awake, but his lower chakras, his legs, sitting in lotus, bound in lotus, were literally in a bind. So they were what I would say had a certain element of mortality to them. And this is why his all ended in all. Patal, Mantal, Rasatal, Taltal, Sutal, Vital, Atal. This is mortal. He's got bad feelings all through his legs. You don't know what it's like to have a great pair of legs. Because I do a little bit. I got 6 sisters. And if there's one thing that women know, it's that your legs are a source of great happiness. You jump up out of bed. And feel the joy of being alive again, another day. So I said, Shivananda, these Shaktis, they're not mortal. These Shaktis, you can't see them right now on the screen. They're in other pages. These Shaktis aren't mortal. These chakras call. These chakras are calling, like Harakan Baba, who appeared on the mountain and sat motionless for 40 days and 40 nights without food or water. They're calling. They're calling like Satka. the seed of creation. So I call them the Pataka, the Mantaka, the Rasataka, the Taktaka, the Sutaka, and the Ataka. Ataka. Then you move into your normal chakras that you already know. Normal chakras, 7 chakras. I do my dog pound and I have my 7 chakras. Well, we have like way more. And I was so happy the other day that I saw online some little blip about, we're all celebrating 130 chakras today. And it was like, yeah, whole group of people having some big festival, 130 chakras. It's true. There are so many chakras. But it's like Shakti. It's like in a fully awakened Shakti Vesh avatar, there's like, Shakti all over your body. Like freckles, they're like Shakti. So you're like, okay, let's see these little places, and we keep finding little places. So where do you find these Shaktis? In the arch of the foot, on the crest of the foot, in the dip on the Achilles heel of the ankle, in the crest of the shin, in the dent on your inner thigh and your knee, in the dent on your outer thigh, like Jennifer Beals in Flashdance. She's like the iconic Attica Shakti. The perfect dent on the outside of your hip there. Jennifer Beals in Flashdance. Yeah. So 7 chakras, everybody knows. Muladhara, the root, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Agya, Sahasrara, and then there are so many more. So Barbara Ann Brennan, who wrote a book and published a book called Hands of Light. It's about like polarity therapy. And it's about how when your chakras are awake and aligned, then you can use your hands, not even to touch, but just to send light, to give healing light and to heal other chakras. So it's very much just like a light work exercise. So let's say this is like a rainbow with the 6, 7 colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And then this one's she's got her throat melting into her heart chakra. That's happened to me. And it's just all red, orange, yellow, green. It's just all aqua in here. So you can send the healing love light and bring this clarification. And here is more earth, and here is more sky. This chakra awakening. So Barbara Ann Brennan points out that there are other chakras that we don't always talk about or know about. Chakras in parts of our body that we wouldn't have even imagined. For example, the spleen and the thymus. The stomach and the liver. And the stomach I call Govindaka, for Govinda, the master of the mountain, who knows just exactly what nutrients to put in and not to put in too much. What cultures and nutrients to keep us alive and fortified and aligned with our brother and sister and aligned with the ones who came before and the ones who will go ahead, our progeny and our progenitors. The thymus, the Shivaka, and the spleen, the Satyaka, that produce the white and red blood cells, the Dhammaka, the liver, that which detoxifies. And I call that the Dhammaka of transcendental knowledge, because I, Damayanti, have been always a really clean and sober woman, though I was poisoned with mercury amalgam when I was 13 and took a 20-year psychedelic trip and lost my firstborn. My liver has been my top priority because I was poisoned. I would never choose to do drugs recreationally. And I respect people who do sacraments as medicine. But know that the liver is the one that takes the heat from that. So always try to take plant medicine that is as wholesome and free from toxicity and mind-altering substances as possible. Then the Jaka Shakti is here under the ears. Of course, nobody talks about this, but yes, our nipples too have chakras, the Amrita and the Amritaka. Barbara Ann Brennan points out the Pujarika, I call them, the armpits. Barbara Ann Brennan points out the Ra and Raja Shaktis behind your eyes. There's also another Shakti right here above your Agya chakra that's like the dolphin star Shakti. It's called the Lalata. The Lalata Shakti And if you're taking some damage to it, you might feel insecure or ashamed of yourself or unable to align with your right path or your right people. But the Lalata Shakti, it's like the dolphin. I call it the dolphin chakra. It's the one that keeps us with our pod. It keeps us with our own kind. It keeps us coming and going as we feel organic and spontaneously. Then there's the crown chakra, the Sahasrara. And of course, there's all of these phalangical chakras. The phalangical chakras in our hands and in our toes. And you know how we wake these up? By playing instruments, by making creations, by giving light work to one another, by working with our hands. And our toes, of course, we can wake up our toes in many different ways, but there's like little Shaktis in each one. And there's like little names for each of those, 2 little syllables for each of those 2. I'm not going to put it in here today. Then the halos, there's the halos above us, the Satya, Artha, Dhamma, Moksha, Diksha, Prakrita, Bodhi, Ardi, Treta, Dvapar Chakra Namaya. And around us, the Madhava, Kamala, Rasa, Chandra, Kanta halos. And what does this mean? The Satya, that's in the divine realm. The Artha, the realm where our works of art become manifest realities. The Dharma, that where we establish the holy land of our higher self wherever we go. Moksha, the realm of pure liberation. Diksha Prakrita. That's the transcendental daily works manifest just automatically in our lives. The Bodhi, the spiritual awakenment of our body. The Ardi, the righteous placement of gifts and belongings. The Treta, that's the divination from the spiritual world through prayer and supplication to the Great Spirit. In the Treta Yuga, this is the realm of the Divine Mother. In the Treta Yuga, this is the realm that the Native American came to exalt. There are 4 realms of consciousness in the Bhakti Dharma, besides Krishna consciousness, which is transcendental to all of those. There's the Kali and the Satya. And there's the Dvapar and the Treta. And the Kali is the material world. That started 500 years ago when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated as the king of Harinam Sankirtan. And he taught us that the only way to self-realization and God realization was to chant the name of the Lord at all times. To chant the name of the Lord. In the grossly materialistic world, have the guts to speak only of the highest. And to do it through song and through dance. And that's what Chaitanya's avatar looks like. And he's incarnated in every single religion, leading the Harinam Sankirtan movement. Every single religion. The Baptists are doing Harinam Sankirtan. The Catholics are doing Harinam Sankirtan. The Vaishnavas, of course, the leaders of Harinam Sankirtan. And that's the animation in the Rasa Leela with the embodiments of Radha and Krishna, the divine couple who are like Jesus and Mary, not as mother, but as beloved, which allows him to come as child. Then Jesus is like the fellowship. Jesus is like the Balaram. He's like Krishna's brother in the Kali Yuga. Then there's the Satya Yuga, the divine realm, where there's the realm of our mothers and fathers. In the Kali Yuga, the avatar for the Kali Yuga is golden, and the golden races have taken birth to incarnate in the mood of this golden avatar. The Oriental people, the Hispanic people, these golden people have taken birth in the mood of the Kali Yuga, the material world, respect and utmost respect for the body and the transcendentalization of it through holding the thought of God in the body, in the cells of the body. In the Satya Yuga, it's like the divine realm, and the incarnation is white. That means all things move according to divine plan. Lord Kapila Dev in the Srimad Bhagavatam is revered as the Messiah of the Satya Yuga. Though we also see Jesus Christ in the Satya Yuga as he who appears without calling an audience, without making an appointment, without booking an event. He just appears and people flock to him, and then he can preach and everybody just listens. Then in the Dvapara Yuga, the incarnation of the Lord is blue, like you see little baby blue Krishna eating stealing butter from his mother's kitchen. He's the incarnation of mischief and sweetness and love. He's also the Heavenly Father, or great mystery, not to be feared, but to be loved, different than Christ Jesus, who is to be feared for the infliction of the crucifixion. We each have to take that upon ourselves if we forget to honor him as him having already done that. And as long as we honor him, then we don't have to do that to ourselves. And then Krishna in the Dwapara Yuga is blue-black, and he's like the one who gives us the right to procreate. And without the right to procreate, our species will die off. We'll be eaten by cockroaches. We need the right to procreate. And then there's the Treta Yuga, and this is the realm of Divine Mother, Divine Woman. Mohini and Mahalas, the 13th incarnations of Lord Krishna, am I. In the I and I. Mohini is the spade, Ananda Mayima, Pulan Devi, Mata Amritanandamai Amachi, myself, the one who was spayed for 20 years because of a government jurisdicted genocide with mercury amalgam dental filling, and obtained God realization in this drug-induced stupor. And Mahalas, the divine progeny, she who is the Shakti and wishes only to be the bride of the Nephilim, he who is incarnated, the angel spirit who is incarnated as Christ Jesus to marry the brides of God, as women who are going beyond Giselle, who are going beyond being sacrificial lambs and saying, I'm too good to marry, to going, I'll have to go into the heavenly realm to marry because it's Christ Jesus, the King, who's coming to take my hand. And when I come into that realm, I'll see all truth, that which is hideous and that which is glorious, and I'll accept and embrace myself. And if I pass through that doorway, then I will become his Prem Shakti, the goal of all life for a woman. And women and men are women to the Lord, as Lord being the Father. And this incarnation is red, the native spirit, the original mother on the land. I'm Cherokee and Apache. Different colors too, red, white, and blue. Actually, Kaishore, I call it Kaishore because it's the age between 12 and 16 in which Krishna is blushing because he wants to give Radhika a kiss. And he's holding his breath. And he's preaching at the same time. He's preaching the holy Bhakti Dharma, and he's glowing like an opal, like an Indranila jewel on top of the mountain. Everywhere he goes, he's on top of the mountain. And so this I call Kaishore, because it's this age between 12 and 16. That's my race. Like I think maybe 8 generations back, French, Cherokee, Black, Irish, English, and maybe a little bit of Apache. It's the melting pot that America was founded on, and all that hideous bloodshed, the most hideous bloodshed of any war that was ever on human history, the population colonization of the Americas happened, and the subsequent slavery and the concentrations happened to create this beautiful red, white, and blue with little golden fringe around. So in Europe, you see all this red, white, and blue too. And the flag, the English flag. So these are the Shaktis, and I came to talk to you about today about the doctrine of the lost chakras. This is an exercise manual that I've scripted that I'd like to bring out to the public to teach workshop. And there's a playlist that's attached to this stream. If you like this talk, then you can look at the Somatic Bliss Trance Illumination playlist. Somatic Bliss Trance Illumination is not just a beautiful state of beingness that we go into when we become submersed in God consciousness, but it's actually a dance form that I discovered, not created, hidden within all dance forms. And it came out of my experience studying Buto for a year and a half. Buto is the Japanese dance form, the dance of the darkness, that is developed by Min Tanaka. And I studied under the tutelage of Marjorie Malone, who is one of the world's best dancers that's ever lived. and she trained at Alvin Ailey School. And in her study there, I did body weather. And now I'd like to take it a step further. I'd like to begin Bodhi weather, Bodhi weather. Because somatic bliss trance is like a sister, I think, if not the progeny of Bhutto, because Bhutto is called the dance of the darkness, and it means let's, like Shakespeare did, when we perform, let's expose what the royals aren't willing to look at. And for me, that became at one point too dark. I didn't want to do the darkness of the visualizations, meaning the downtrodden, the degraded, the people who were considered not to exist. In Bhutto, these are the ones who actually exist. And in somatic bliss trance, I sought to find a way that I could bridge the two, that I could accommodate my female sensitivities. And so instead of visualizing things like ants crawling on my teeth, I wanted to visualize things like flowers blossoming behind my eyes. And I found out something about ballet, which is like owned by the crowned heads of Europe. Right? Right? Isn't it? Actually, it's owned by the ballerinas. And it is actually somatic bliss trance in its highest form. And that's the difference between a prima ballerina and a company ballerina. A company ballerina is the core dancers who do their time and they execute all of their positions and gestures perfectly. But a prima ballerina is different. She actually becomes a snowflake. She actually becomes a flower, which allows the audience member, and even not just the audience member, but the whole populace at that moment of prem, which means something exists in this moment and everything in the universe can feel it. Then everyone can be one with the snow. And if you can be one with the snow, then you can be one with the tree, and you can stop before you put the chainsaw on it. We all need to gather our pine cones and tree branches to fill up our wood stoves during the winter. Easier said than done, but real. Just, think about that sensitivity, having that sensitivity towards other things, and wonder when you think about these people that they make idols, and oh, Ariana Grande, oh, she's so like the queen of the world, and think about what it feels like to be her. It's hard work. She's a triple threat. That means I'm going to engage my voice, my feet and hands in dancing, and my soul and intellect in acting. Mm-hmm. So that I can communicate radical truths to human consciousness. That's what a triple threat does. Communicates radical truths to human consciousness through singing, dancing, and acting, if they're a real artist. Otherwise, they're just, the triple threat, sings, dances, and acts. And then they're just in that mill going to the meat market from show to show and owned by other people who are then creating what they say. But to get to that position, you've got to have the sensitivity to listen and to actually be a voice for the people, which is why the industry is a divine complement to the government, if not more powerful in the spiritual world. Mm-hmm. Because when we engage our voices and our bodies in dancing and singing, we awaken our chakras and become the Shakti vessel for Christ consciousness. Because we don't have to fear the end of the world. We have to acknowledge the world is ending. Yeah, for a lot of people, because they don't know what to do or how to act or how to accept and embrace their current state of existence. We all want to be ahead of who we are, ahead of where we are. But if we honor our own individual gifts and wake up our own chakras, it's very simple. It's very black and white in a way. Well, this chakra is out of alignment. Oh, there's some damage to my Dhammaka chakra, to my Lalita chakra. I just want to wake this up so I walk my path. I just want to clean this out so I don't feel insecure about it. I'm here. I'm a Shakti empowerment specialist. And if you need me, I can be a Shakti empowerment counselor to you. This is what I'm doing on this channel. And you can contact me on here now. Let's have a good millennium. Peace and love.